I'm fine.
Good.
All right. Greetings. Good afternoon, everybody. Peace and blessings. Hope you all are wonderful. This is Haki Ami, the Success Scholar, teaching on this institute. We're here having a discussion this past week. For many of you who may not be aware, there was the U.S. African Leadership Summit, and there were many events in the DMV area, uh, DC, shall I say, for those who may not know outside of the Maryland area what the DMV is, but in the District of Columbia in Washington, shall I say. But I'm excited to join you. We are broadcasting live on our Teaching Artists Institute page, Thai TV, Raising Consciousness and Capital, as well as Harambe Books, as well as Hakish Kwame on Facebook, of course. So definitely check out any of those. On if you're looking on the replay, please share, like, subscribe, and hit notify so that you are able to keep up with all of our operations that we're going on. So we're very excited to have some phenomenal panelists that attended one of the, I guess they call them side events for the summit that went on in DC. There were many events all over the DC area, and so we had the opportunity to be with some of the there were many, mostly West African countries, but we had an amazing experience, just attending and networking with many powerful Africans in the diaspora, as well as in some of those that were from the continent. So we had exciting experience. So I have Dr. Michelle. I'll allow for her to introduce herself, and Sister Fastima, right, Sister?
Right. Faustine Amara Owiname.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't see you all's name up here, but okay. And but we're gonna allow for you all both to introduce yourself. But I'm a open, just have Sister Michelle, because she has a story. She was in Sierra Leone, and I know you, Sister, you did some work in the Senegal, so I'm excited about that. So, open, Dr. Michelle, and share a little bit about yourself. About your background, and I know you're in the DC area. I know you're a professor at UDC, and you recently got back. So we want to talk about your experience in Sierra Leone, as well as what your experience that was with the conference the other day. And so we're excited. But I know you're an anthropologist, researcher in the Washington D.C. area, so I'm excited. So just open up and share, and sister, I'll come to you in a second, okay?
Thank you, and greetings to everyone joining. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Michelle C. Chatman. I was recently, actually, I have a lot of names, which is really interesting. I think as we move through different stages, different seasons of our lives, it is very much in keeping with African and other indigenous cultures to receive a different name when you reach a certain stage of your life, when you've gone through a rite of passage, if you will. So I am Dr. Michelle Chatman. I'm Michelle Chatman. I'm Maimuna. I am Luba. That is the name I was recently given, my Mende name, while in Sierra Leone a couple of weeks ago. So I'm known by many names, but I am the same person. I am from Washington, D.C. I am the oldest of three of my parents' offspring. I have a sister and a brother, and another brother who is now an ancestor. I was raised in DC. I attended public schools in DC. I went to college in DC. I'm an alum of the University of the District of Columbia, where I currently teach, but I'm on sabbatical this academic year. My discipline is anthropology. My love is African people and African culture. I am a professor, a researcher, a vocalist, a community mama, and many other things. I'll just say really briefly what I'm most excited about is having traced my maternal lineage to the Mende tribe of Sierra Leone through AfricanAncestry.com, which is an absolutely wonderful company and organization and family that is enabling African people to find out where they are from on the continent, to reconnect with their family, with their history, with their heritage. And so I had the great fortune of spending 16 days in Sierra Leone with 39 other family members from the Mende, Temini, and Limba tribes from Sierra Leone, and our incredible hosts, Diallo Sumbri, and our in-country hosts. And it was just an absolutely phenomenal experience. I've spent time in other West African countries, the Gambia, Senegal, and Nigeria, all of which were tremendous experiences. And this one was equally as transformative for some different reasons. But I'm happy to share more about that experience and what my thinking is now in terms of having found out my ancestral home and how that is really impacting my thinking about my future, right? As I enter this season of my life as a fully adult woman, I'll say. So I'll turn it over to one of the other panelists and entertain questions and conversations as we move throughout the program. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. That's Dr. Michelle Chapman. She goes by many names, of course, as she said. So we have several of us who have joined us. Day and Brother Mvasiki. So we are blessed to have both of them join us, but we're gonna have our sister from Detroit so I'll let her describe what she's doing. She's from Detroit, but she has business and in the Senegal area. So I'll let her share a little bit, just open up and share a little bit about your story in terms of your experiences working in Africa, because you had a lot to say to us, and we appreciate that knowledge. And so we wanted to get you on and have this conversation because you have some business experience and traveling throughout, not just Africa, but, in other places as well. So that we appreciate having you sharing with us. So let me give you the screen and let you go for it.
Okay, thank you. Hi, welcome. My name is Faustine Amara Winame. I currently live in Detroit, Michigan. I am from Detroit. My father is from Nigeria. So I've been traveling to Africa since I was a child, primarily my teenage years and adult years, and primarily Nigeria. But since then, I've extended my travel to South Africa. I extended my travel to Ghana, Togo, and now Senegal and the Gambia area. I went to Senegal for a trip, actually, just for like a vacation. Really, I didn't have a reason to go to Senegal. My best friend just asked me, hey, it's COVID, it's a lot going on in America, let's go to Africa. She said, I hadn't been home in 10 years and I want to go check it out. I want to get a home, start a business. I said, okay, cool, I'll come. So I took myself, my son was 3 years old at the time, and my sister. We went, and I just fell in love with the country. I fell in love with the culture. And suffice to say, my best friend ended up coming back, and I ended up staying. So throughout the course, since January of 2001, I have been splitting my time equally between Detroit, well, primarily America, because I can't just say Detroit, but between America and Africa. I may do 2 to 3 months in Senegal, then come back and do 2 to 3 months here. And then finally, in December of 2021, we took a group of artists from Michigan to Senegal for the Gauge Away by Rap Festival, which was hosted by G Hip Hop, which is a hip hop community center in Senegal. They have appointed me as their international ambassador. They said, hey, why don't you bring some artists? And when I got back to Detroit, I didn't really think people would be interested, but lo and behold, I had 2 artists that was interested, and we raised the money and we made it to Senegal for the event. So for me, it was a dream come true, because now I was opening an avenue for other young adults to come to Africa. And my primary focus is not just the elite, like doctors and lawyers. I just want the average person that grows up, primarily Detroit or any inner city neighborhood, to know that the opportunities to travel overseas is there. When I did get to Senegal, it was a challenge, especially with the language. But somehow we kind of figured it out. My son ended up going to school in Senegal. He graduated from preschool there. So that was a great experience. but it was also an eye opener, especially to the children, to the many children that are not able to go to school, or the many children that come out in the early morning and beg for money while the kids go to school. So I saw a lot of different things while I was in Senegal. But the one thing I kind of wanted to transpire to people was, we always say we want to live the American dream, but what about the African dream? So while I was in Senegal, I made it a point to really integrate myself. I did get my full residency. I applied for a Senegalese driver's license, my import export license, business license. That way, if I am on the continent and I am doing business, everything is legit and I wouldn't have any problems when I open my shop. So my shop is located in Gagaway. We built the shop from ground up. We used all personal investment to build the shop out. And I end up calling the shop the Detroit Boutique. And the idea behind the Detroit Boutique was to give entrepreneurs the opportunity from America to have their products showcased in Africa and test the market. And also for those in Africa to be able to, bring their products here to America and also sell it in our markets. And the reason I really thought about it is because my previous travel was to China. I spent a lot of time in China, and I spent a lot of time in Hong Kong between 2008 and 2019. And so I was able to witness the African-Chinese relationship. I was able to witness how, we go over there to get goods and then we ship it to Africa. But I said, we ship in knockoffs. We ship knockoff African material and knockoff like European brands. And I'm thinking to myself, we don't support each other's business. When I'm in Africa, I don't see American brands being promoted. And when I'm in America, I don't see African brands being promoted. So my goal with the Detroit Boutique is to provide a bridge where we can do business with each other. Okay, yeah, I don't want to take up all the time, so I could talk forever. But outside of Senegal, just to wrap it up, I did spend a lot of time in Gambia as well. So, and I enjoy the I guess when you go to the border and you see both sides speaking Wolof, but yet one speaking English and one speaking French, it really gives you the mindset like, wow, colonialism was real. It really divided us. And, they would see themselves as different. I see them as brothers. And so that idea of conquer and divide is something that we really have to overcome. Okay, I'm done.
Indeed. Thank you. That beautiful opening. We appreciate that. So let's go to Mama Ade. So we're just opening up, sharing a little bit about ourselves, our experience in terms of, working with Africa, investing in Africa, trading with Africa. My Mama Ade, who's a Thai elder, Teaching Artist Institute elder. I know she's been to Africa 40 times, and she's been to the East, West, North, and South. So she has tremendous experience, just seeing the different cultures, and she's doing her own elders tour to Tanzania. I got on Zanzibar show with Mama Ade. But so we're looking forward to that. But let me allow for Mama Ade. We'll let our elders and our sisters, Queen Mother, speak, and let's go to Mama Ade. You ready, Mama Ade? What? Hold on. Are you unmuted? Are you unmuted, Mama Ade?
There we go.
There we go.
That's it. Okay, yeah. Excellent. Well, I think you said most of it. I'm a theater artist, educator, cultural consultant. I've like you said, I've traveled the world and as a cultural ambassador, and I've enjoyed every minute of it, and continuing the journey with the Teaching Artists Institute. Last year, I taught in 3 of the universities in Tanzania. And so culture and moving people from point A to point B in their lives is what I'm all about. And seeing how the culture manifests itself throughout the diaspora is something that I'm very close to. Seeing how it manifested in Brazil, in Cuba, and throughout Africa proper is of total interest to me. I have 19, I'm very fond of saying I have 19 grandchildren and 23 great grandchildren and counting, because that is part of your legacy. And I think we took the mandate to be fruitful and multiply seriously. I'm a priestess in African tradition, a priestess of Oshun, and I love the Teaching Artists Institute, what we're doing throughout the diaspora in educating, in business, and helping others to build their own brand through the Teaching Artists Institute. So I love every minute of it. I love Kim Poole, and here I am just to share whatever bit of wisdom I have, bring my biscuit to the table.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, yes, thank you. Hand clap for the elder. Yes, and so I'll bring the brother on. I'm going in order. Brother Mbasiki, and this brother, he's in Philadelphia, I believe, and I met him on 2 occasions. Were you in Panama? No, I'm not sure if you were in Panama.
Yeah, I was in Panama.
Right. So let me allow for you to speak, and I know we had you on a Zoom, and you actually did part of the panel.
Yes.
At the event the other day, earlier in the week, and so just open up and share a little bit about yourself and just where you're from as well. You're from the continent, but you're here now, so we can get a good amount of inspiration out of that.
All right. My name is Mbasiki Kone. That is a name from the Mandingo ethnic group in West Africa.
Mm.
And Mandingo is an ethnic group that is found in more than 10 countries in West Africa, which include Liberia, Guinea, Sierra Leone, Gambia, Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso, Mali. We just happen to come from Liberia. And I'm sure all of you know the history of Liberia. It was a country founded by returning African, those that left from America with a desire to found a nation in Africa. It is one of the oldest independent nations in Africa. I come to Teaching Artists Institute as part of SEWA, which has had long years of collaborative relationship with SRDC. It is true that I got to know Kim. Kim first time going to Liberia, she went to visit Miss Louise, who is the head of SEWA, and us wanted to pick her up from the airport. And it was an eventful occasion. And since then, the relationship keeps getting stronger every day. She introduced me to Teaching Artists Institute, and I've been around for a little bit. Primarily, I'm a writer and poet. I started writing for newspapers in Liberia prior to my migration to the U.S. in 1995. I was a columnist for at least 3 newspapers, freelance columnist for Monrovia Daily News, the R newspaper, and the New Democrat newspaper. And when I came to the U.S., first in New York City, I was a freelance writer for the City Sun newspaper. It used to be one of the major Black publications back in the day. If you are familiar with the media scene in New York, particularly in the African American community, I'm sure you will know City Sun. I used to also be affiliated with the African Voices Literary Magazine. Then, the website, so many websites. Black Star News has a website now, to which I'm a freelance columnist as well. Okay, I'm a published author of 3 books. My first book It's a collection of poetry that talk about my experience surviving war in Liberia, as well as my service in the U.S. Navy. I was in the Navy for 9 years, which gave me the opportunity to travel around the world. I've seen so many places on the Navy ship. Then in Africa, I've traveled to several countries. I have an ancestral link to Guinea, the country of Sekou Touré. My grandfather actually was born in a place called Bela. Back in the day, it was not, it's supposed to be one of those places where Liberia was supposed to extend to. But because of the colonial intervention, Bela became part of what is now Guinea, but it should have been part of Liberia. Okay, that's where my grandfather came from. And my father was born in Liberia, and I was born in Liberia. I lived my entire life there until the war of 1990 that forced me and millions of other people to flee the country. And I was in Cote d'Ivoire for 2 years. Then I came back. That is from 1990 to 1992. I came back to Liberia, and through the diversity visa program, I came to the U.S. And all along, I've been writing. So based on my experience from the war in Liberia and my time in the U.S. Navy, my first book of poetry is called Going to War for America, which highlights my experience from both sides. Then my second book is a memoir of the Liberian Civil War. It's called it's a memoir of the Liberian Civil War, where I also in prose explain how the war affected me and millions of other people in Liberia, and how surprising it to a lot of people that knew me from Liberia to see that I could join the U.S. Navy. So I talk about all of that and my travel to various African countries. I've actually lived in Liberia. I've spent part of my time in Guinea, as well as Ivory Coast. These are the 3 countries in West Africa I've spent good time, because at least during the war, I was in Cote d'Ivoire for 2 years. Then I spent part of my childhood in Guinea, Republic of Guinea, and I grew up in Liberia. But since I've been in the U.S. now, it's been about 25 years, because if you think about 1995 up to now, that's like half of my life has been here. So I do travel more frequently from here to Liberia. Matter of fact, I'm leaving on January 6th to go to Liberia, but I'm going to be there for at least 20 days. All right. And besides that, besides all of what I do as a writer, as a poet, as a community activist, I'm also very deeply involved in the political activities in Liberia. I'm the chairman of the CPP, which is Collaborating Political Parties in Liberia, which is fielding a candidate called Alexander Cummings for the 2023 election. So my responsibility as a head of CPP is to mobilize support within the Liberian community for the presidential candidacy of Alexander Cummings. And so I divide my time between political involvement, social, cultural involvement, as well as writing as a poet and writer. And I do travel both frequently between here and Liberia. Quite recently, we were in Panama as part of the CEWA delegation. That's where I met a brother for the first time, though we've interacted on some occasions, but we all met in Panama, and it was a great occasion. And I think the collaborative relationship between SRDC and CEWA Liberia, which is headed by Ms. Lewis, former Deputy Minister of Culture in Liberia, has been very fruitful over the years with the support to students, scholarship to students in Liberia, and the project to be undertaken, which is the National Library Project, a Pan-African Library Project, where we'll be able to project all the positive value of Pan-Africanism to our people in Liberia. It is very interesting that Liberia, which is I would consider to be the foundation of Pan-Africanism in Africa. Relationship between Black people in America and Black people in Africa, I would say Liberia is the foundation. When you talk about Marcus Garvey, who wanted all Black people to return to Africa, it is to Liberia where he wanted to take our people. And of course, the reason Garvey did not set foot in Africa and he did not succeed with the Back to Africa movement is because of the French and the British colonialism. The French were in Guinea, the British were in Sierra Leone, and in 1920, both of those countries were still under European colonial authority rule. So when Garvey talked about going back to Africa, the British and the French made sure that he could not succeed. They passed through the U.S. government to make sure that his trip to Africa was not going to be successful, and there was a mail fraud charges against him. All of that were intended to make sure that Garvey's mission to Liberia was not going to be successful. And
Yes,
what
sir.
happened? They learned that Marcus Garvey is supposed to be establishing a movement in Africa. That land was given to Firestone as a rubber plantation,
Yes, sir.
and that continued up to today.
Right,
So
right.
we expected that Liberia that was founded by African American should have been embracing of Garvey's movement, but unfortunately, the movement did not succeed in Africa because of the encroachment of the French and the British.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's just little things I want to say about myself for now, and thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight.
Right. We appreciate that, brother. And definitely, we appreciate that history. Hold on. You know, that here. But we definitely appreciate that history. Liberia is essential, has some very valuable connections to Black people. I'm learning more about that in the context of even Booker T. Washington and some of his underground, kind of behind the scenes things that he did with that. But yeah, and I got you, Sister Michelle. Got you, Dr. Michelle. We appreciate that. So is somebody gone? Oh, Sister Fastima. But we appreciate her for joining. Maybe she will come back, but we thank her for her time. Okay. You can come on back in whenever you can. Take your time. But thank you, brother, again. That was beautiful. I hope that everybody got that part and pieces, and we need that well-rounded analysis. And let me bring up Brother Nat T here, and Brother Nat T is a restorative justice advocate in the DC area. He is from South Africa originally. He's been in the United States for many, many years now. He's working, organizing, and he actually joined us in Kenya just last month. And so for the Thai Teaching Artists Institute Artisan Conference, and so he was one of the instructors. He is an art instructor, teacher, musician type of teacher. I'll let him share exactly all of his dynamics, but he's organizing in the DC area. And so we're grateful to have you join us, brother. And thank you for coming out for the conference, the U.S. Africa Trade Investment Forum. There were a lot of activities, but you showed up at this one that the Teaching Artists Institute put together. Shout out to Kim Poole for coordinating that. But Brother Nati, you can just open up and share a little bit about yourself, from, oh, wait a minute. I pulled up my day. Hold on. Let me click on you. Let me see. Okay. So, Brother Nati, you can just open up.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nkosi Nati. I go by Nati. Most of the young men that I work with, they call me Black Man. And some of them, they don't even know my name anymore because they call me Black Man. And as some of you might have heard me during the conference, I was calling every Black man that I see, I call them Black men. And there is a reason behind that why I call the men around us Black men, and I call the women around us young queens. and it emphasizes our existence, who we are as a people, and what we stand for, because black is not just black. Black symbolizes so many things, and the quality that comes with black, it should be exemplified from who we are as a person. Like you said, Brother Aki, from South Africa, grew up in Thokoza, which is one of the most roughest areas that was in South Africa during the apartheid times. And of course, I will visit my grandparents in Mpumalanga every now and then. I've got the country in me as well. So I do have some moments where I want to balance. If I want to be really grounded, I will like revisit my childhood memories when I was growing up in the mountains, climbing up trees. So there is a lot of history that comes with that. To fast forward to where I am now, being a restorative justice specialist, I emphasize a lot on healing. What is healing? Because Africa as a whole is hurting. There is a lot of hurt. And how does Africa heal? Africa will never heal as long as there is people who are still pulling the strings to control what Africa can do, what Africa cannot do, who can be in power, who can succeed that person. And we see that with like what's happening in Cameroon. And you see that happening in Sudan. And we see that happening in most of the countries, like Cote d'Ivoire, what happened in Cote d'Ivoire. And we want to speak on how do we heal as a continent. And myself, here I am, of course, in America. I continue to advocate, for the young black men that I work with. I work in a juvenile facility. I work with young men who are finding themselves in situations where they end up having to go to the federal prison for 30 years, 40 years.
Mm.
And how could we have reversed that? I mean, I see these young men growing up, knowing them from when they're 10 years old. And then the next thing, 6 years down the line, this young man is now facing 30 years, 40 years.
Mm.
And then it's a perpetuation of how do we change that narrative?
Mm-hmm.
So I always emphasize, and I like, I mean, you always hear me saying emphasize, because again, if we don't emphasize the intention behind why we do the things that we are doing, and then which means everything is going to be in vain. The community at large needs to be involved. How do we change that narrative with the parents that let their young men go out astray, and then you don't care about them? I'm not saying they don't care. Some don't care, because we have to have those honest conversations. So I remember at one time when it was at Massanutten, and then I was having conversations with Mama Ade, and on how the communities that we live in now, they are so polarized by everything that is anything. You can't identify who's the mother, who's the son, who's the daughter. And I'm reminded of a situation again where I was helping a mother with her son, and then the mother was calling her son bra, and the son was calling her mother bra. No, bra, I didn't do that, bra. So for me, I get taken, like coming from where I'm coming from in Africa, where I'll call my mother bra and my mother call me bra. So which
Mm.
means already there we are lost in translation, because which means we have to go back to the square board and identify what is the missing link. So again, for my introduction, I'm big on restoration and healing, and then what does healing look like, and then how do we heal as a continent? How do we heal as people in general, as Black people, young queens, young kings? How do we voice out? How do we find ourselves in platforms that allow us to speak and be listened to, and for us to listen, to be able to have those honest conversations so we can change the narrative, because it's not easy, but you see, it's possible. So, and we, uh, you know, one thing that I would like to say as part of my introduction, then I'll pass it back to you, Haki. I think there was that drive during these last 2 days, and I feel like it was probably like a blessing in disguise that I didn't go on the panel because I felt like there was a lot of things that I wanted to say. When it comes to U.S. Africa investment and the forum, like what does this look like?
Mm,
Because we still have a lot of things that are happening behind closed doors that
mm,
we don't see. But we put the money forefront and we say, we have got all this money, we've got all this business that are happening, but we don't see that happening, practically. And then when you have those honest conversations,
Hello?
you triggering, certain nerves for people to walk away or they dismiss you. So but I mean that's it in a nutshell. And of course, I'm an artist, and um, I pride in the art that I do. I pride in my culture, and I pride in my language, and I pride in the person that I am. I pride in my accent, the way how I talk. I pride in my language, how it sounds. I pride in the clothing that I wear, how it looks on me. I pride in the food that I eat, how it tastes and how it looks and how it smells. And I pride in when I see young queens and young kings, how they walk, how they present themselves around so many circles of people around us. So yes, this is Black Man Nati.
uh, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother Nati. We appreciate that. So let me just say, just for me, going to this forum, and I listen to different people, and I'm still reading articles, and just reflecting on my own interaction. So there's always the strategy, for instance, of we have to go to the African Union, or we have to go to the United Nations. We have to this type of organization or that type of organization. But I also feel, I mean, and granted, we should have a level of a push on the powers that be, but I also believe in the whole internal reparations, the internal things. And I heard the president of Ghana. Now he and people kind of quoted, misquoted, or suggested what he meant, but he said something about Africans being beggars. And it was quoted. He said some things, but so reflecting on that in terms of even Black people coming to the United States, it's like, what do we really can we really expect from the United States, for instance? And the president of Ghana said something about internal trade, which is essential. So, Dr. Michelle, Sister Michelle, what would you, for instance, if you were addressing these African leaders, you're at the African Union, I'll just say the African Union, and you're addressing these African presidents, what would be the thing that you would say to them? And I'm going to go down the list of everyone is going to give their African Union speech and say what they want to say to African. All right?
That's a heavy question, Brother Haki. I'm going to give it a try.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I can only, of course, answer the question. I will answer the question based on the things that I see as being important. And I want to first greet my elder, Mama Ade, because I'm also a priestess of Shango. So greetings to you, Iya, and greet my brother, my Mandingo brother, and my other brother who's a restorative justice expert. I teach in our crime justice and security studies program at UDC, and some of the courses that I teach have to do with restorative justice and healing in the family, and just how we really get ourselves together. And so that actually connects to what I would say to the leaders of African countries. that we really have to take a deep look at the ways in which we have internalized these notions of white supremacy and Black inferiority. And we have to really challenge ourselves and ask ourselves, how free do we want to be? And how healed do we want to be, right? How much can we, or how much are we really prioritizing our freedom and our land, and thinking outside of the templates or the models that have been forced upon us, imposed upon us, and laid before us when we think of leadership, when we think of development, when we think of business, when we think of advancement. So I would challenge the leaders to examine their ways of being, the ways that they lead, their allies, really have them actually examine their loyalty to their country and to their people. As you know, someone said that, you know, there's so much going on behind the scenes that we don't see, that we don't know about, you know, but we get the press releases and the beautiful images on the media and the news and so forth. But there's so many dynamics at play, and we have to be circumspect. We have to be wise and think critically about what's happening on our continent and with our people. I'll just add really quickly that I think this is a great discussion, because when we think about trade and investment in the continent, and Brother Haki, I would just want to mention really quickly that I think Sister Fawcett is waiting for you to let her back into the room.
She's in. Hold on, let me see.
Fantastic. You know, investment is not just financial investment, while that is incredibly important. And I'll say that if there was a sister from the Ministry of Education who said this when we had our day-long workshop in Sierra Leone, as we were preparing to get dual citizenship, which I'm really honored to now have a Sierra Leonean passport. But she said investment comes in a number of forms, right? It's not just buying property, building a house, and trade and so forth. And I would say we have to examine how much we are emotionally invested in Africa and her people, right? How highly do we regard ourselves, our history, our culture? You know, what are we thinking when we see our people, right? What are the judgments and the biases that come to mind when we see our people? How much are we prioritizing supporting African and Black owned businesses and restoring African and Black cultural ways, like revering elders, like resolving conflicts before they become violent and we involve the state structure, right? Like being each other's business and helping to raise our each other's children and family and looking out for each other, right? So, you know, I would encourage all of us to think about how much we are emotionally, intellectually, politically, and spiritually invested in African culture and Black people. Okay, you can take me off now because I want to see all the other people on the panel.
Yeah. No, thank you. Yes, no, we're yeah. Where's the sister? Okay, I'm sorry. Let me bring up Sister Fatima. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's Faustina. Amara. Yeah, you can just call me Amara.
Amara.
That's my Nigerian name.
No, thank you. So now, you know, you came in to the conference ready. You were just dropping knowledge. You were like, we need to be doing this with the African products and, you know, manufacturing our own. So you're at the African Union and you're speaking to all of the presidents. What is your message to them on trade and investment?
Okay, first and foremost, before I speak, I just wanted to acknowledge everyone that's on the panel tonight. I had an opportunity to meet each and every last one of you at the conference this past week, and it was a very delightful experience. So I just want to thank you for inviting me to the U.S. Africa Investment Forum. If I'm talking to the governments in Africa, the main thing that I will be focused on is to say this is about our currency. currency, if you don't have proper currency, you cannot do business. Each currency in Africa right now is deflating every single day. In Nigeria, 2014, 2015, $1 was equal to $1 was equal to 80 naira. Now here we are, 2022, $1 is equal to 450 something, like 55 naira, some astronomical number. It might be even more than that. Even since last year when I went to Senegal, when we first got there, it was 500 cedis per dollar. Now it's up to 650 cedis per dollar. How can the people on the continent survive when every day their currency is getting weaker, but yet business is not growing, investment is not growing, wealth is not trickling down to the people, jobs are not being created? It's almost like a different form of economic slavery. So this is something that I will address. Now, I know a lot of people would say, oh, Africa needs one currency. No, I think regionally, Africa needs currency. I think West Africa needs a currency, East Africa needs a currency, the Southern African countries, and maybe the Northern African countries. At least to start, only because the continent is so big. But intertrade, working with each other, getting our monies on the market. When you're in Hong Kong and you go to the money trade, to the world trades, you don't see African currencies being traded. You don't see African currencies on the stock market. So talking about doing business and trade, we got to get our money together. That's the first thing we got to do. We have to invest in our people, and we have to make sure we have the proper currencies. When I first crossed that border between Senegal and Gambia and I had to change SEFA to Dalasi, I'm like, what joke is this? All of it's like paper. It doesn't even mean anything. It's like the people are working for free and they're exchanging paper with one another. So that would be my suggestion to the African Union is, please, can we get our money in order? There's no reason why in 2022, we still have 14 countries that were colonialized by the French still using French currency. How is that independence? You're not independent when you're using your colonializer's currency, or you pay African tax to your colonializer. So for me, Africa is still somewhat under some type of non-independence. There's still, we still have the colonial powers that be. And what they have, a stronghold, is our currency. And we need to get that in order.
Wow. Very, very well said. I appreciate that. On point. Mama Ade, if you can add on, you are at the African Union and you are African president, all 54 of them, even the ones that the United States did not outcome.
Okay. Well, one of the first things I would say is, what does that mean, African Union? Because our feeling is that we need to get back to those African cultural principles and adhere to those. It seems to me that we've lost sight of those, like the Nguzo Saba. The first principle of the Nguzo Saba is umoja, unity. And that's something that we really don't see. And I would have them go through each of those principles. Kujichagulia, self-determination. What does that mean? And what does that look like? Ujima, work and responsibility, collective work and responsibility, pooling our monies together, faith, purpose. All of those principles in the Nguzo Saba, define each one of those for real and incorporate that in your being and doing. What is the African Union? The whole notion that we're still dealing with these artificial lines that were drawn by the Europeans to divide us culturally. And when we're still paying tribute monies to France. That makes no sense to me, that Benin is still paying money to France. There's so many different things. I would talk about the spirit of Ubuntu. For those who do not know, and forgive me, but I am a bit of a storyteller, so indulge me just a minute. The spirit of Ubuntu, I'm going to explain it by telling a story. There was an anthropologist, a European anthropologist, who came to Africa to study the savages in Africa, and the cultural differences. And there were a group of children, and a brother and a sister, this little boy, and all of these children who were just little dirty little children, and he was studying them to see how they would react to various stimuli. So he took this big, huge basket of candies and fruits and put them in the far distance by a tree. And he was telling the children that they had to run towards the tree, and the first one to reach the tree will get the fruits and the candies. And so he wanted to see if the brother would push the sister down and get to the tree first, or whether the boy with the long legs would push someone out the way, or fight to get to the candies. So he said, "Get ready, get set, go!" And the children all looked at each other, and they grabbed hands, and they all ran together. And he was perplexed and said, "Well, why did you do that? Why did you run that way?" And the oldest little boy said, "Well, how can I be happy eating all of the candies and fruits if my brother and my sisters have nothing?" So that spirit, that notion of Ubuntu, all of we working together to get the job done, all of we working together to get somewhere, that becomes important to me. How do we build community? We say culture is the new currency. We need to define what that means and spread that notion of culture being the new currency. And what exactly does that mean for all of we? Because the world looks to us for our dance, for our clothing, for our style, our swag, our everything. But we don't value it as much. I teach drumming, and and I've seen on videos people in Japan dancing Yemanja, dancing the African orishas.
Wow.
You go to these drum circles, and it's a room full of people that don't look like us or are teaching drumming. So we need to invest in ourselves, in our own culture, something, and education. I'm an educator. Something is wrong with this paradigm when we uplift, and I love athletes, I love them, but when they're making millions of dollars and the educators have to come out of their pockets to buy books, to buy paper, and I know this because this is what I do every day. Everybody can't throw a ball. Everybody can't kick. Very quickly, a story. I was doing a residency with the Ohio Arts Council, and they send me all over the state. And they sent me to this school. Unbeknownst to me, it was a school for the differently abled. I'm there to teach theater. So I'm there, no problem, we can work this out. and I'm in the gym, and they bring the classroom of students in, and there's one little boy who they bring in, and he's in this wagon, this little red wagon. And the boy has no arms and he has no legs. And I'm thinking, okay, God, how am I supposed to teach this little boy theater? And the teachers told me, well, don't worry about him. We'll just roll him over here, don't worry about that. But my spirit said, I can't do that. I cannot not include this boy. So tell me what to do. And the forces gave me what to do. So I picked the boy up out the wagon. And as soon as I did that, he looked startled, like, what are you doing? The teachers looked startled. And I put the baby on the ground, on the floor. And I came up with this scenario. We are going behind enemy lines, and we have to go and get food from behind enemy lines. So we're going to make you the captain. And so we all had to crawl on our bellies and wiggle behind enemy lines. And he was the leader, and to get our food and to get different things from behind enemy lines. And we made it back under his leadership. And by the time I finished that class, he was the hero of the class. The teachers were in tears. The principal thought I was the Messiah. And it was amazing. It was amazing. It was one of my best residencies. And I say that to say, in the arts, there's something for everybody. Everyone can contribute. And that's how we build community. There's so much to be said about culture as the new currency, about building community through the arts and through business. There's, for all of these businesses, I was saying at the conference, I don't care if you we're building cogs, little cog wheels. That's design, that's color, in imagination, that's culture. And I'm going to make a T-shirt that says that it is the arts and culture that puts the civil in civilization. You don't have civilization without culture. So I'll rest my case. I'll stay right there.
Beautiful.
Because it's very risky. Yes, very risky.
Denver. Oh, wait a minute. Denver's somewhere having dinner with people. He's on.
Oh, wonderful.
Hold on. Hey, we gonna do it. Let's get Denver in here. He's looked like he's having dinner with somebody, everybody. Yes. Hold on. He just chimed in, everybody. So for those that may not know, Denver coordinated this conference, everyone. So I wasn't expecting him. So I guess he got the link from Kim. So if y'all don't mind, I'm gonna pause just a second. We're gonna get back. It looks like he's having dinner somewhere. Let me unmute yourself, Denver. Hold on, I got you. Hey, you want to come in, Denver? Thank you. So we had Denver. We have Dr. Michelle on. Let's see. Amara, sister, let me make sure I said it right. Baba Nati, Mama Ade, and Brother Ivasi. All are on. They were all there this week. So just chime in. Look like you're having dinner somewhere. You're in New York right now?
Yeah, I am in New York right now. I just finished my dinner. I was just in meeting with some people, but I'm done now. So Kim told me about it, so I just jumped in, and I'm excited to be with all of you.
Tell us about the event. So open up and share just what you envision with this event, and how do you feel now? What main takeaways for those that were not able to come? What would you say?
Yeah, the event, first, I'm excited about it. I think we all did it, and God did it. Thank you so much for Teaching Art Institution. First, I just want to appreciate and thank the teaching art institution. I can say without you, we cannot just do what he did. So everybody now happy. I'm excited having that email and text from people saying, "Hey, you did it, and then it's good. And when you're gonna do it again, and it's good for always to for brothers and sisters to get together and talk about Africa and talk about development and all that." So I'm excited about it, and so also people asking me about teaching art institution, how they can be part of it and all that. So yeah, so it's excited, it's good. And again, I want to say thank you for everybody for what you did for yeah.
Okay. Real quick. I know you out, but tell us, in terms of the Kingdom of Kush, they were principally, essential, and you share in the vision of that. If you can chime in terms of what that looks like, how do you envision that?
Yeah, Kingdom of Kuch, which I'm part of it. Now they're excited about the work that Teaching Art Institution do or did before, and which I also told them about. So now they want to have this strong relationship and this strong collaboration with the unification with Teaching Art Institution. And I think our goal and then our vision and mission, Teaching Art Institution can do something about it just to help us. So we just relying on Teaching Art Institution. I'm not just only talking about KM. I'm talking about all the member of Teaching Art Institution to to um to take the Kingdom of Kush to next level, because what Kingdom of Kush is fighting for is how our own people can have the passport, how our own people can just have some place to go for it, how our own people can have their business, how our own people can do our own thing. So I think that's what in our own culture, focus our own culture, so focus our own everything. I think that's what Teaching Art Institution and Kempul are doing in entire of all these last 10 years. So that's why we just really want to make that collaboration with the Kingdom of Kush and the Teaching Art Institution.
Great, beautiful. Thank you. We appreciate the time. I know you out and about, so we're not going to hold you. If you don't have anything else, if you want to listen, or if you have anything else to add before I let get back to the other speakers this round, you got anything else to add before you
Yeah,
go?
yeah. What I was just adding, right now we have a petition going on which I share with you and Kempol. I wanted to share with everybody to just start pushing that petition. And also we have the application for the passport for people just to start getting their passport for the Kingdom of Kush, because so far we have 6 countries already who recognize Kingdom of Kush. So we want to people to start reading about it. I'm not trying to convince anybody on that, but I want people to start reading about it and just start at least signing the petition and just start applying for the citizenship. And I think Kim talked about it last time, where we also thinking last year to do another tour. Teaching Art Institution will take lead on that, to just try to travel to that area with the people. After getting the recognition and also declaration, we're thinking about next year March we will do the declaration and everybody will start talking about it. So, but we want to, before that, Teaching Art Institution to take lead on that. Before we just go to the public.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, so we're going to share that petition. Thank you for your time. I'm not sure if you just want to stick around and listen in, or we'll get back to our guests. But we definitely look forward to working with you, and congratulations on an amazing event. It was absolutely life changing and enhancing for many people that attended.
Yeah, thank you. One thing I just want to add it, I just want to stick around. I will just want to listen to other people. I always like to interact with brothers and sisters. But I just also want to let you know this event that passed, we're just going to do this maybe every year or every 3 years. I will inform you where we can have opportunity to come together and talk about our vision and mission, our differences. Each person will have opportunity. And I also want to apologize for those people who supposed to speak on our event and they come all the way, but because it's our first time and the time delay, they didn't get to speak. So, but next time, inshallah, they will. We will make sure everybody will have that chance to share what you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you. So we appreciate
Thank you.
it. Let's get back here. So who do we left off? Brother Mbasiki. So we were talking about if you were at the African Union, my brother, and you were speaking to the presidents, the 54 presidents, 55, I don't know. Yeah, so presidents of Africa, what would you say to them?
Well, here's what I would say to them. I would say you've signed so many trade agreements, either at the regional level, at the AU level, which supposed to promote trade among African countries. I would tell them, what are you waiting for the full implementation of all those protocols you've signed over the years? I would tell them that while foreign investment is great, the intra-African trade is very important. For us to grow into strong economy, whereby we provide jobs for our people, whereby our people can sustain themselves through our own job creation, we have to trade among ourselves. I would tell them that it is unfortunate that when we talk about development and progress, we're still looking up to the colonial powers that enslaved our people and colonized us. I would tell them that the vision of the great Pan-African leaders, like Kwame Nkrumah, like Sekou Touré, like Malcolm X, like Marcus Garvey, W.E.B. Du Bois, I would tell them that they must go back to study the economic political philosophy of all those great leaders. I remind them of Malcolm X's speech at the OAU inaugural summit in Egypt in the 1960s when he said to them, don't let American dollar raising derail your progress. He told them that Black people in America, Black people in Africa, if we work together, we can build strong economic. I would tell them that it is unfortunate that for anyone to be president in Africa today, he or she has to be in bed with the very people who want to see Africa just being the place where they can get raw material from and we need to ship finished goods to Africa. And without strong trade among Africans themselves, it's going to be difficult for Africa to make the progress we wanted to make. This brother from Gambia, I remember 2 years ago, he spoke at the SRDC conference in Baltimore, Maryland, where he said that today, most Africans, particularly the young ones, have lost faith in Africa. That's why they are sacrificing their life to go to Europe on a rickety boat that can sink every now and then, and a lot of our young men and women are dying. But while Africans are trying to find every means to get out, the Lebanese, the Indians, then the other people see economic advantage in Africa. Like if you go to Liberia now, every supermarket in Liberia is owned by the Lebanese. Every major business establishment is owned by the outsiders. Maybe the only group of Africans that you can say are braving the storm in Liberia are the Nigerians. They seem to be more entrepreneurial, or they are brave to conquer the situation. But we cannot be considered independent people if we let the European to dictate who can be our leaders. We cannot allow Europeans and the Americans to determine how we can trade with them. Like the program that was in Washington, D.C. quite recently, and which this panel discussion is part of, it is based on U.S. own interest, how it can profit from trade with Africa. Because U.S. is in competition with China, which is gaining a lot of grounds in Africa, but it's still like all the trade, whether it is with with China or the U.S., is still being determined on the basis of neocolonialism. What we need in Africa is for the Pan-African vision of African people working together for their own economic improvement, economic empowerment. That's what we need. Nothing is wrong with inviting investment from China, inviting investment from America or Europe, but we have to take into consideration until we begin to implement all of the regional trade agreements that were signed at the AU level, at the ECOWAS level, as the Southern African Cooperation level, we are not going to make the progress we want to see. We want to make progress to the extent that our young people don't have to leave out of hopelessness and poverty to say they're going to sacrifice their life on the high sea to go to Europe. We know our people died in the transatlantic slave trade, which was between Africa and the Americas. Our people died in the trans-Sahara slave trade, but today our young people are dying on the high sea between Europe and Africa because they don't see any hope in Africa. They see hope in Europe. A lot of them go to Europe, they don't even know the economic situation, the political and cultural situation there. They will find themselves in a situation which is very, very bad. Some of them will say, if I knew this, I wouldn't have come here. So for African leaders to be considered doing great job for their people, they have to create a hope for their people so that young people that should be the engineer, the doctors, shouldn't have to leave Africa to go down on the high sea because they are looking for economic prosperity in different places, whereby people from outside are coming in Africa to, to gain a lot of profit. I was listening to BBC just not too long ago when a Lebanese lady who has a business, she's working with family operating big business in Liberia, that she is sending $1,500 every month to her family in Lebanon. So it means that her family is surviving on economic remittances from Lebanese family in Liberia to their family in Lebanon. So while those Lebanese and the Indians see opportunity in Africa, Africans themselves, particularly young people, are losing faith in Africa. That's the reason they are getting on the rickety boat and drowning on the sea, Mediterranean Sea, between Europe and Africa. That's a shame. You can't be considering yourself to be leaders when your people have to go all the way to seek economic opportunity in different places at the cost of their life. That's what I always say to them.
Thank you, brother. We appreciate that. Let me just read a comment by Brother Nat T. Let me get that up, and it's perfect timing. Nat T, and he can say it now, but I think you put that in the private chat. But there's power in numbers. What we need is to face the opposing forces with a purpose to be great. Africa is the mother of all civilizations. They may call us third world and all. For all we know, the anchor of all civilization and modern structures is found in the belly of Africa. Honest conversation and reflections is what we need. We have to look at Africa from outside, inside, and change the narrative from outside, inside. And now we can go to Brother Nat T. Let me bring you up, brother. All right, so that's your comment, brother. I did there. So just, you're at the African Union, brother. You're giving your speech to the African presidents. So what is your message to them?
Yeah, there's a lot that we that we needs to be shared in that platform around all those leaders of Africa. The one thing that I know I would ask them is to ask them to walk outside of that comfort that they are in, go to the city center of any cosmopolitan, whatever country they're coming from, stand right in the middle, look around 360, and tell me what you see. And after you see what you see, tell me if you're proud of what you see. And then after you see that, tell me what you listening to. Can you listen or are you hearing? And whatever you listen to, does that make you feel proud to be an African leader? And then walk around the streets, go to the slums, go to every corner of your country, and tell me that what you see, you feel good about it. And then you go to bed knowing that, like, wow, I've done my part as a leader of whatever country you're coming from. Because it's only when we remove them from that comfort space and have them be in those uncomfortable spaces. Remove your security guards, your bodyguards, those entourage that you come with when you need your votes, when you want to be to go back in power. How do you feel? Because again, I'm stripping you off of what makes you think you are the best out of everybody else. And I was watching a clip the other day. It's the president of Sudan. They're doing a parade. And this is how crazy this is. So you are that old enough to be at home and just chill and let the young blood run the country, give other people an opportunity. It's a parade. You have all these people, you've got all this military, like your bodyguards. And he literally like let go of himself. He peed himself standing right there. But that goes to show you that like you are that, like you have gotten to that stage where you are just doing this because you've got that power, dictatorship. And that's very sad. So which means it's a question that those members, those leaders of Africa, in that space, Haki, to your question, I'll ask them to literally have those honest conversations with one another. Like, what are we doing? Because again, like if you come to think, like the sister was talking about how we still have to pay, like we have to pay taxes for people who are sending stuff to Cameroon. You're paying taxes to France before you pay taxes to Cameroon. So how you have to pay twice taxes when you're sending something to your own country? Because France has you like, locked in. And it's unfortunate that these voices that we have, like individuals who are on this panel right now, our voices are like smoke out in the air. And this is why they will never allow us to be in those spaces where we can communicate and be heard, because they know that what we say, it rubs them the wrong way. And then and this is why we will never have that opportunity to restore the Africa that we know. I'm reminded of when we talk about Black Panther. The Black Panther, like originally the Black Panther comes from like the Xhosa land, Mandela's tribe. I mean, it's a whole story. I won't get into it, but then look into it, like what the Black Panther is and how it came across for it to be called the Black Panther. It's the power that we have as Africans. You look at Shaka Zulu, how he conquered the British. That was the most bloodiest war in Africa, because he was smart enough to know that they're trying to colonize Africa, and he used them, but he allowed them to use him so he can use them. And why can't we as Africa still hold on to that mentality? Because all these Western countries, They don't produce anything, like literally zero. But they go and extract from Africa and bring back to the West and then sell back to Africa at higher prices. And then yet in Africa, we still sit there, and then we've got individuals who are puppets, allowed to be controlled because the greed, you don't want to like let go. So my question would be, walk out from your comfort zone, stand outside and see the pain. You don't even have to talk to someone. You can see the pain from people. You feel it just walking next to them. Walk to all these schools and tell me what you see. And then you ask yourself, what have I done during the time I've been president or prime minister for 40 years or for 30 years? What has changed? What legacy am I leaving behind? Truth be told, they will never give you an answer. They will push you away because guess what? Because you are a threat to them. And this has got nothing to do with any conspiracy or anything. It's true facts because it's right before your eyes. Because I don't see you after the elections.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So so that would be my one question for them, to see if they are willing to step out of their comfort zone and walk outside and look around and see what is around them, what surrounds them.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so we appreciate this, and everyone, we gone like a 1 hour 20 minutes, and so we're gonna begin to close down. We appreciate that. So I'm gonna allow for Dr. Michelle Chapman to close us out. Well, she can, say your final remarks, take 2-3 minutes or so, close us out. If you want to leave your contact information or anything exciting or inspirational you want to share with the audience, and we will see you next time. Thank you for your time, and we'll go to the next person to close out as well.
I just want to thank you for this incredible opportunity. Thank you for inviting me to be on the panel and allowing me to get to know these tremendous human beings. I just want us to stay encouraged and to stay in the fight. We are the sons and daughters of Africa, and we must continue to work and to be brilliant and to work together and to take her to her next level of development and liberation. So stay encouraged, and let's just keep working together as a family. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. I say appreciate it. And have a good night, sister. And she has to go. And who was next? Sister Amara. Let's bring up Sister Amara. Thank you, sister. So, final remarks, take 2-3 minutes. Any closing, inspirational, empowering remarks or comments, anything anyone said, or if you want to leave a comment, you may. Thank you. Is she muted?
Okay, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. I just want to say that trade between Black America and Africa is very important. We have to really connect the dots and really start to focus on manufacturing products in Africa. If we're talking about investing in Africa, it's just not about taking our American dollars to Africa, but it's actually investing in the culture, investing in the people, and also investing in manufacturing so that we can produce and trade on an equal level, just as every other country has the opportunity to do. It's important to take advantage of the AGOA Act, the African Growth and Opportunity Act, because right now it's only the Chinese that are taking advantage of the actual free lateral trade between America and Africa. And it's always just important to put the people first. Put our people first. We have to put ourselves first. When we look in the mirror every day and we see the reflection of ourselves and look at other Black people across the continent, not only on the African continent, but also in the islands and the Pacific, everyone that has Black skin, we have to work together and really unite in business and in trade.
All right, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, sister. Thank you, sister. And I'm not sure if you're sticking around for everybody's final remarks, but we appreciate you
Thank
very,
you.
very much. And so, Mama Ade, if you
Mhm.
add on any closing remarks, inspirational words, words of wisdom, reflections, any contact information or anything. Well, first you have the elders retreat. Let me put that.
Yes.
I've been putting it out. So anything else you want to add to this discussion? I put the link out, and we're gonna have amazing experience in Tanzania next year. But you can go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Absolutely. Our Elders Legacy Tour is happening in October. We want to encourage all to think about that and help our elders to get to the continent, to touch back on the soil and plug back in to our culture. Um, I'm reminded of what my godmother used to sing. She said, we are the children of the ones who would not die.
Mm.
We are the children of the people who could fly. We are the children of the ones who would be free. We
Mm.
are fearless, we are strong, and we're ready to carry on. And so that mindset of forging that unity, going back to our principles, our African principles, and incorporating that, living in harmony with nature, as opposed to trying to harness it or be in charge of it, but being in harmony with it will move us a lot forward. We are the rhythm people, and culture is the new currency.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. And let's go to Brother Embassy. Thank you, Mike. Hold on, let me get you up here, brother. And brother is right up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, or close to Pennsylvania, Chester. But yeah, so we'll be seeing a lot of you. So thank you, brother. Any closing
Well,
remarks?
my closing remark would be to show how much I appreciate the dialogue that is going on now between African American, African Caribbean, and those of us from Africa. It's a healthy dialogue. This is beyond the high-level political discussion, that is held among leaders, but we are the ordinary people representing our people at this level, and the fact that we are talking to each other is very important. This reminds me of the days before I came to America, when I learned about Malcolm X and read his book. The autobiography of Malcolm X it was so inspiring that I started an organization called the Malcolm X African Disciples. And on the Black History Month, during the Black History Month and on the occasion of Malcolm X assassination, we used to have a lot of programs, and the goal was to promote dialogue between Black people from here in the diaspora and Black people in Africa and those of us in Liberia. So when I see such a dialogue taking place today, it reminds me of those days prior to my coming to the U.S. And the fact that we are talking, seeking solutions that may be applicable to us on both sides of the Atlantic Ocean is a healthy endeavor. And I would just say, let's continue to do that. For me as a writer and poet, it is my responsibility to be able to take the message from my African American brothers to Africa and from Africa back here. Because I consider myself not to be citizen of the world, citizen of the Black world, where I've lived in the U.S. for the past 25 years, but I've always made sure to travel to Liberia to interact with our people there. As I said earlier, I'm planning to travel to Liberia between January 6th and the 29th. It's a great thing to be in this group. All of the excellent contribution from everyone has been very, very, very educative. And I do agree that culture is the new currency. And that could even be referred to the Afrobeat that is blaring from radio stations across the US. If I listen to mainstream stations like Power 99 in Philadelphia and they're playing African music, that tells me that culture is indeed the new currency. Thank you and God bless.
God bless. Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Never be gone. So, brother Not T.
Yes, sir.
Final words. Mute there. Hold on. Somebody needs to. Somebody. Well, I'm gonna. Them. Hold on. Who's that? If everybody just mute while we get Nati on, just to say. On somebody's background. All right, thank you, sister. I'm signing off. Thank you, Sister Amara is signing off. But thank you for your certainly appreciate it. Have a blessed evening. Brother Nati.
Yeah, there's a quote that I love very much. It says, if you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at, they change. So that's something that I always remind myself, that even if things are impossible, I always look at them differently. And the perspective, the way how I look at them, it changes. And then it allows me to get more possibilities. Because again, as people, we are capable of anything that is everything. It's all about intention and purpose. And what did Peter Tosh said, it doesn't really matter where you come from. As long as you are a black man, you are an African. So somebody can be from Senegal, Nigeria, Ivory Coast. As long as you're black, I'll fight for you, you'll fight for me. I'll cry for you, you cry for me. We're all gonna change this nation, this continent that we pride in. And we're going to empower the woman that is the young queen that is in Africa, because she is the one who is carrying us to be where we are. So I do believe that there is change, and change is right before us. All we need to do is to stand up and walk together, hold our hands, like what Mama Ade said, Ubuntu. You know, it's just one word, but it's a very, very loaded word. Ubuntu. Ubuntu. It embodies so many elements of what Africa is. And thank you again, once again, for this platform. And thank you, Mama Ade. Thank you, good brother. Thank you, this young queen. And thank you, Haki, for these conversations. Like the brother said, these are the platforms that we need. We may not be in the bigger spaces, but we'll continue to paddle like, little ducklings in the water, but from the surface, we're just floating. But the work that is being done underneath the water. They don't see until we surface up, and they won't be ready when we're there. Thank you.
Beautiful. That was beautiful, well stated. Well, I'm very appreciative for all of you participating here. Demba, no, I don't think that's him. That's Sister Mara. Oh, is that Demba? No, yes, she's still hanging out, but we appreciate you, sister. All right, so although she said I gotta go, y'all, but no, we grateful and we're humble to be in your presence on behalf of Kim Poole, myself, Mama Ade, and other Thai affiliates, Teaching Artists Institute affiliates. We are excited. Let me give a shout out to Renee Miller, also came, Ari Squires, who else was present there? Kelly Hoff was there. Who else? But that's all we can mention right now. But yeah, so we're very grateful. We have some amazing things coming up in 2023. This was a pivotal period for us to be present here, and we're looking forward to many other exciting operations and opportunities to build our global African presence. So I would just say one God, one aim, and one destiny. Ain't that right, Basiki?
That's it.
Have a good night, everybody. Peace.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Nice
night. Good
nice
night.
meeting you all.
It's a pleasure meeting you, black man.
Yes, sir, brother.
Buddy.
All right.
From
Thank
South
you.
Africa to West Africa, from north to south, we are one people,
Absolutely.
One God, one aim, one destiny.
one destiny.
Yes.
Definitely,
Yes.
definitely.
Yes, indeed.
Hoorah.
Right. Thank you, Thank you, Haki.
You are Uhuru Sasa.
All right.